The oracles of judgment against the nations continue. Chapter 47 concerns the Philistines. The note before the oracle says that this word was given to Jeremiah before Pharaoh attacked Gaza, which would mean before Pharaoh Necho II's attack in 609 BC. But the oracle itself is more suited to the attack by Nebuchadnezzar, which occurred in 604 BC. Egypt was in the south, but references to Babylon in Jeremiah as a threat actually are normally given as coming from the north. Even though Babylon was actually to the east, because of the terrain, direct attack would be difficult, and the route was probably from the north into Palestine and then Egypt. The references to the destruction of Ashkelon in verses 5 and 7 also point towards Nebuchadnezzar's campaign, as shortly afterwards he came to Jerusalem to obtain Jehoiakim's surrender. Gaza was one of the 5 Philistine cities, which included Ashkelon, Gath, Ashdod, and Ekron, names familiar especially from the story of David. The Philistines were descended from the sea peoples who came from Crete and perhaps surrounding regions and conquered their way through Asia Minor and down the Mediterranean coast to Egypt, where they were beaten by Ramesses III. Some groups retreated to the coast of Canaan, merged with the local population, and became the Philistines. Gaza is, of course, in the news again, but this time on a whole new scale. Although the media has been varied in its reporting, the reality is that on Saturday, the terrorist group Hamas invaded southern Israel and, having killed a few soldiers at the border, then went on a murder rampage, killing as many people as they could. At least 260 young people were murdered at a festival. Terrifying footage shows the killers running from house to house, shooting people or burning them alive. Many women were raped next to the bodies of their dead friends and were either killed afterwards or taken to Gaza as hostage. These last few days, I have seen things that I have never seen before. And as I write this on Tuesday evening, it is being widely reported that Hamas murdered 40 babies, beheading some of them. Hostages have been taken to Gaza presumably to be abused further, but also to be human shields and then collateral damage. Hamas deliberately installs bases and other things in or under structures, civilian structures like schools or hospitals, and even when warned by the Israeli military, they refuse to allow the Palestinian civilians to leave, so that when bombed, Israel will be disgraced in international eyes. The media reporting which comes out of Gaza is also controlled by Hamas, and does not, of course, give the whole account of things. If this evil was not enough, it has been appalling to see rallies of celebration in London, New York, and Sydney, where Palestinian flags were flown, people mocked the pain of Israel, and in front of the Opera House in Sydney they chanted, "Gas the Jews, gas the Jews, gas the Jews." Over the last few years, there has been a lot of hysteria about differing political opinions, with the accusation of Nazi being used so much it began to lose all meaning. When I read Elie Wiesel's Night a couple of years ago about his time as a child in a Nazi death camp, I wondered if ever such a thing could happen again. We are seeing it now. Hamas are not freedom fighters. Their aim is to eliminate all Jews, not just from Palestine, but from the world. Their goal is shared by the nations which surround Israel. They want genocide. Israel will, of course, hammer Hamas and in the process kill Palestinians, but Hamas want this. I would not be surprised if they prevented some from leaving, as the Israeli government has warned them to do, in order to increase the civilian death toll. The violence is beyond comprehension, But do not be fooled by the media and commentators who say that it is just the circle of violence. Israel does not target civilians. Israel does not commit genocide, though it has the means. If Hamas had the means, Israel would be gone. No Jew would be left with a head. We must pray for the hostages. We must pray for all the families who are grieving in Israel and for those who will be caught up in the savagery of Hamas in Gaza. We must pray for justice and security and that things will not escalate. But we must also pray for Jews worldwide who are watching in horror as many online and in the media and in political circles reveal to them in their reactions to this massacre their true face, and the sense of an ancient hatred must now seem so horribly strong. We as Christians must not be part of this renewed hostility towards the Jews. They are suffering right now an unthinkable ordeal, something that we have only tasted with the terror attacks in London, Manchester and Paris. I pray that Christians will be bold in their support of Jews everywhere, because those who would finish the job Hitler started are certainly becoming more bold, even in our own cities.